Okay, I think we left off last time with how to do raccoon tails. Yeah, I guess I'll just continue with that just in case it wasn't completely. But basically, you just, you choose a section or like length of your hair that you want to be raccoon tailed, and you just, you don't dye one part, and then you put foil over it, and then you wrap it back, and you put dye on it, and then you put another layer of foil, and then you wrap it forward, and you just do that over and over and over again until you've eventually got your little coon tail thing that you wanted going on, or however you wanted it. Another effect that's popular is using two different colors, or two colors that are far away from each other on the color scale. Like I always use, green and blue, or pink and purple, or yellow and green, or whatever. But if you wanted to use, say, like green and pink, you could do that. However, I personally wouldn't, just because the only real issue, provided like you keep the color separate when you're putting them on, is you also have to wash them separately. Things do fade into each other as they wash, and they don't necessarily fade badly, but they fade like, your whole head isn't going to be the same amalgamation of, green and pink, but you're going to get like this little grayish area in between where they come together. So you have to wash them separately every single time you wash your hair. That's personally why I don't do it. Like, I'm sure I could do it right for a week, and then I'd get really lazy and just be like, screw it. So, I personally just go with what I know I can upkeep forever. I'm really kind of a lazy ass, and I'm kind of scuzzy about how I do stuff. In terms of tools that you want to use, like, I basically just get a pair of gloves, dip into the dye, and... But I know a lot of people like to use tint brushes. That's a very professional method to go about it, and that's like a way to make sure that you don't miss a spot. And basically what you do is you'll take a tint brush, and you can get that online. You can get that at beauty stores. They often come with dye kits, and basically just start, pull up a strand of hair and dye it and put it to the side, and pull up a strand of hair and dye it and pull it to the side, and pull up a strand of hair and dye it, so forth and so on. And basically it's a very slow but very even sort of method. Now, let's say you've got the dye that you want, you've got the color, and you've got it all set out perfectly, and you know how you're going to do it, and you've got it in your hair. When it comes time to process, most bottles recommend 15 to 30 minutes. And to tell you the truth, that would probably be enough. Like, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you want to leave it on overnight, and, put on a shower cap and sleep with it on your pillow. There's kind of a point where you get to where your hair is just as dyed as it's going to get, and it's just like, it's not going to get any more dyed than it is. It's just fact of the matter. Like, there's only so green your hair can get. So once you get to that point, there's not really any point in leaving it on longer. However, you can't really judge when that point is. I usually leave it in for an hour and a half, and, this was like an hour and a half. Good result. I probably wouldn't even have had to leave it in that long, but I figure better safe than sorry. And because, the stuff's nice to your skin, it's nice to your hair, it's not a super big deal if you leave it in for a long time. Like, nobody's gonna care. It's basically just if you have an hour and a half to leave it in. Another thing, if you want to help it like process really fast, is what you want to do is put a plastic bag over your head, which, it sounds like horrible child suffocating advice, but, you just don't put it over your face. Like, just, pull it like up to here, and then, like, just cover all your hair. And then once you have all your hair covered, take a hairdryer and blow dry the outside. And the blow dryer adds heat, because this chemical does process with heat, so it'll bond to your hair better, and the plastic helps, hold it in there. And that's like one way that you could probably leave it on only for a half hour and have still like really extreme bright results. When it comes to rinsing out, I know like I had a lot of issues with it at first. Like, I can't even really remember why, but I was just like really nervous about rinsing out my hair. You do get like these little trickles of color, like where the dye is coming out of your hair, like these little trickles of water, like, that are colored, like little green trickles of water that come down your chest and your shoulders and stuff. And those actually do stain, but they're not like extreme super staining. Basically, you just, you rinse your hair, like you rinse backwards like that. You don't want to get it into your face or your eyes, like be very careful about that. And you just rinse backwards, and you wait until you get like all of the dye out, and then you just, wash yourself all over. It does stain, but if you can wash it off like just with soap and water really easily. It's the stuff where you've actually had the solid, the solid goop from the bottle like directly on your skin that's gonna stain for like a day or more. However, in my experience, it only stays like until your next shower, basically, when you wash your face or whatever. It's not really a super big deal. If you have unmatched colors, again, like, colors that aren't close to each other on the color wheel, again, your best bet is just to, like, take, your parts that are two different colors, separate them out very carefully, and just, put shampoo on one side, put shampoo in the other, and, like, rinse one side and rinse the other, and just, like, be very, very careful with it. Anyhow, once you've done that, you've got your nice, gorgeous, extreme color, everything's wonderful, and then, you do a bunch of showering and suddenly your color's gone. The first thing to do is, I usually like to do my hair on Friday because then I have 2 days where I don't have to be anywhere necessarily, where I can, care for it and make sure everything's okay. After I've bleached my hair, and sometimes after I've dyed it, it tends to be so fried that I can manage going for a couple days without showering, without washing my hair. And that's probably your best bet, because what you want to do is you want to keep showering like normal, but instead of washing your hair, just put conditioner. The conditioner that you put in your hair after you dyed it will help bond the color in and just keep it there. Plus, it also helps the quality of your hair, keep it smooth, make sure it's all, still in good condition after you've been doing all these processes and stuff to it. I personally like to just basically wait until my hair is too scuzzy for me to handle it anymore. Like some people I know are OCD and oh God, I have to keep, wash my hair every day. And, me personally, I can go 3 or 4 days before I really, feel too gross and I have to wash my hair. Again, I'm kind of a hobo, so, don't worry about it if you aren't the same way. When you wash, it's good to use very, not necessarily high-end shampoos, but shampoos that are really good for color treated hair. It's kind of the same if you'd use normal color treatment, and you want to use really nice conditioners if you can. And again, hair dyes don't really wash out with time, they wash out with washes. You can't really say, oh, it lasts for 3 weeks. You can say, oh, it lasts for 8 washes or whatever, So basically, if you want your hair color to last a really long time, don't wash your hair as much. That's basically the immediate result. And, of course, that depends on the condition of your hair. My hair only gets greasy after a couple days, It's not the first day after that it starts getting all scuzzy and gross. So I can go a couple days before I really need to start washing my hair. But, if you've got the money and you've got the inclination, you can wash your hair every day and just, re-dye it every few weeks. Again, dyeing isn't a bad process, but let's say you've got your roots coming in and you want to bleach those out. That is the one that can start to harm your hair after a while. You want to think about how often you're using bleach, but you can use dye just basically as often as you have the money to buy it. If you want to bleach your part, again, just because that, your roots are coming in or whatever, you just, want to be very careful and just, again, make sure it's been a while, a month or 2. And then just put it, along your part, and pull up your hair and put it there. And just keep, applying it to the roots only if you can. And then, just get in there with the dye, put it in at the roots, but, put it back through the hair to give it a good, your hair does fade after a while. And, hair dye does, it washes out basically completely. However, it almost always stains, I've noticed. You can wash your hair as much as you want, but it will never get back to that immediate white that it was initially. It'll just have this little faint green tint or this little, little pink or whatever. It's, it's not a big deal. You just use a little bleach. I honestly think colors look really cool even as they're faded, so I usually let them get to that part before I bleach again, and that's why I don't really need that much bleach usually, and I don't need to leave it on that much, and I don't, need to do as much damage. Again, that's the way I do it though, and I know some people aren't necessarily looking to dye their hair a ridiculous color every single month like I do. That's basically all you need to know about dyeing your hair, except, just as one thing, it's not really a big deal. If you put blue in your hair and decide, oh my God, it just looks horrible, with your skin tone and you just hate it and you don't want to even go in public, you go to the drugstore and, you get some brown hair dye and you put it over it. It's not, that big of a deal. It's not permanent and it's not the end of the world if it turns out you don't like it. But, one thing to consider, is if you're going to be walking around with green hair, people are going to notice. I used to have just, really long blonde hair, and I just had this really, no makeup, very unassuming clothes, and people would just talk around me like I wasn't even there. I was totally ghost-like. And then, one day I just, said, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll cut my hair and I'll dye it purple. And then from that moment on, I was just, oh my God, it's the girl with purple hair. And a lot of the time I get, parents who are looking at me I bet you want to rape my children, don't you? And I'm just no, what? No, I swear I'm a good kid. Please don't hate me. But then, you've got their kids wandering up to you going, oh, you have princess hair. So, it's very polarizing. You'll get a lot of people come up to you and say, hey, I love your hair. Oh, man, that's really cool. That's a beautiful color of green. How did you do that? All sorts of comments like that. And then you get some people who just kind of, are studiously not looking at you as you walk past them, and they're wondering, what drug asylum you just escaped from. So, just keep in mind, it is an extreme look. You can't really fade into the background when you've got green hair. But, I personally enjoy it, and it's a great conversation starter. You walk up to someone and their first comment is usually, oh, so what's with the hair? And you can just be like, oh yeah, well I do this, or I just like really colors, or I grow green hair because I used to be part of the grass, whatever bullshit story you want to come up with. It's just fun. Ta-ta!